Okay, hello everyone. Jason Crawford here from WP Roundtable. We've got another episode. I'm not even sure what number it is, but we've got some rum and some beer, I think, floating around, so it's all good. Kellen?
All right, I'll dive in next. Good evening out there in the world. I'm Kellen Mace from Michigan. I'm a developer. I'm glad to be on with another great guest tonight for WP Roundtable. Marc.
Hey everyone, I'm Marc Benzakein, who just noticed I didn't have my lower third on, so I'm really with it today. I am with ServerPress, and I make, all by myself with no help from anyone else, desktop server, which is not true. And really excited to have Heather on tonight.
Hey guys, I'm Kyle, and I just up with WordPress, organized the Jackson WordPress meetup in Jackson, Michigan, the greatest town in the county of Jackson in the state of Michigan. I'm really happy to be here today. We've got this is episode 54, so we're really cruising, and we've got an awesome guest. Really excited to get to learn more about Heather Acton today. She's a really cool person from Chicago, and I'm gonna let her kind of introduce herself, tell us a little bit about who she is and what she does, and we'll get to our questions.
Cool, sounds good. Thank you guys for having me. This is I think this is the first thing of this type that I've done, so I'll try not to flub it up for you. So I'm a developer first and a business owner second. I own Helio Interactive, based in Chicago. Just about to organize my third WordCamp. I'm co-organizing WordCamp Chicago with Ryan Irwin this coming fall. Official dates to be announced soon. Also co-organize a meetup up by my house in Lake County, Illinois, which is a little bit north of Chicago, and help Becky Davis out as much as possible with the North Side meetup as well. So very community involved also. I'm actually sitting in a Airbnb in Minneapolis right now. Just got done with WordCamp Minneapolis, and the folks that I'm here with and I just got a house for a few extra days to build some cool stuff. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Heather, for joining us. It's really exciting to have you on your first thing of this type.
Well, I really want you to know that, right now, the record for flubbing it up goes to Marc.
That's true.
He broke it.
I did.
Yeah.
And to punish me for that, they asked me to be on every week. So
Yeah.
Hey, all right. There's a benefit to flubbing it up then.
I suppose.
It's great.
There's so much irony in it. It's amazing. But basically, if you do worse than Marc, it'll.
That would be pretty
Join us every
amazing.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Let's stay on topic here by switching topics to our quick picks of the week. This is the part of the show where we talk about something that we want to share, just one relevant thing relating to something that we think is cool that people should know about it. So the thing that I want to share with everybody is I've mentioned managedwp.org before, which I think is the best WordPress kind of news site out there that kind of curates WordPress news from all the great sources, and really awesome site. But they just introduced an events feature, which I've always thought, why is this not a thing on WordCamp.org or something or another site where there's essentially a global map of WordPress events? But now managedwp.org just introduced a really nice feature, so you can go to managedwp.org/events, and you can see a real map with pins on a map, and plot kind of your proximity to actual WordPress events. And these could be meetup groups, these could be WordCamps. It's super, super cool. I have always wanted to see something like this exist. Can't believe that nothing has until now. But check it out and see how close you are to cool WordPress events. And if you're not close to some, maybe you should start some. So there, check it out.
Wait, what was the link for that? Because I just typed that in and you found nothing.
managedwp.org/events.
Okay, then. I'll check that. Thanks.
All right.
Does that mean I'm going up next?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so my quick pick of the week is I found this really weird guy, and I'm not sure if he's trying to be Superman or if he is trying to or if he's just crazy. But so this guy has got a bunch of kids and is trying to have more kids and adopt kids. He wants to build an attic. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But anyways, one of our fellow guests, our fellow panelists here is trying to build out his attic to help raise more children, adopt more children. So I think it's really a great cause. And what do we got for a link on that? I've already lost it. 2to5.us. That's spelled out TWOTOFIVE.us. It's really confusing. And then you can go / how can I help if you're ready to join, and if not, just check around 2to5, and it's got some really interesting stuff.
All right, I can dive in next. My quick pick of the week is a bit off the beaten path. Usually I pick something that's really WordPress specific, but this week I was geeking out on installing Open Source Media Center, or OSMC, on my Raspberry Pi I have, and just hooking it up to the TV to use as a media center. And it's really cool. I did it once before when it was still called Xbox Media Center or XBMC, but yeah, this is the first time since they kind of rebranded and upgraded everything that I have done it, and it worked out really well. It's really cool if you want to stream online stuff to your TV for really cheap. One tidbit I'll give the group to, well, anybody watching really, is to use a power supply that's like 1 amp or more. I found that out the hard way. I was trying to power the Raspberry Pi I was using with just like a cell phone charger, but it only delivers 0.7 amps, which it turns out isn't enough to power if you have anything extra plugged into the Raspberry Pi. So get a higher power one, like 1 amp or above, even up to 2 is fine, so you have enough current. But yeah, really cool, again, if you want to stream stuff to your TV from the interwebs. Check it out.
Thanks, Kellen. Mark, you got something?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you, Jason, for mentioning that link. Secondly, the pick of the week is a plugin that is made by our own very own Kyle here. And it's a really cool plugin that I'm looking forward to messing with. It is a WPTV plugin that kind of offers you contextual video help for your admin panel in WordPress. And he's just now kind of beta testing it, and he's looking for people to kind of give some feedback from the community. And I'm really looking forward to playing with it. So it's really a cool idea. And you can find it at github.com/brashrebel/WPTV. That's Brash Rebel as in he's brashy and he's rebellious.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know that's what everybody thinks of when they think of Kyle, so you know.
Right.
For sure.
I forget that nobody knows why that's my username everywhere. But anyway, moving on. Heather, do you have something to share?
Yeah, actually, I have two. Kyle's asking me in the background if I was ready with something, and I wasn't about 30 seconds ago. But so one of them, just to stay true to my love of craft beer, and hopefully this is cool because it's really off the WordPress topic. But so I'm here in Minneapolis for WordCamp, and I had it's now become one of my favorite beers of all time. It's called a Finnegan's Blonde Ale. It's absolutely delicious. So that's been our beer of choice most of the time we're here, although we have missed the cutoff time for alcohol purchases a couple times, so I think I'm drinking a Budweiser of some sort now, which is kind of sad. But so anyways, Finnegan's Blonde Ale, delicious. The other one I have was actually just a site that we stumbled on looking for inspiration from a design standpoint. If I plug something into chat, does everybody see that? Or
We'll put it in the notes and on the event page. But
cool. I'll throw it in the chat here. But we just like to. I'm not a designer at all, but our creative partner kind of pulled this up the other day, and it's just one of the coolest sites I've ever seen from an interactivity standpoint. It's beautiful. If anybody's looking to do something different or get a little bit of inspiration on the interactive side, really, really cool site to check out. So
awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Heather.
And I'm really curious how beer and WordPress are not pretty much the same topic.
That's true. Good
Yeah.
point. Thank goodness.
Exactly. Exactly. And my pick of the week was beer related last week, if I remember correctly. So, anyway, the rest of this hour, we want to learn about Heather Acton. So we've got a lot of questions for you, a lot of things that we want to know about, and the rest of the world does too. That's why they're all watching. So let's start, especially since this is the first of this type of thing you say that you've done. Let's kind of start at the beginning. We can set the whole stage. We're clean slate. We haven't answered these questions publicly before, and so now this for the first time the world gets to know about Heather. So take us back a little bit. Let's start kind of at the beginning. You know, your early career. What did you want to do? What did you end up pursuing? And then take us through the path up to maybe just before now.
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So, growing up, I wanted to be an engineer. I knew it from a pretty early age, just because I loved math and science. So it was pretty obvious that from a career standpoint, that was something that I would pursue. My grandpa was a mechanical engineer, so I was pretty familiar with what folks in the industry did. So that's what I went to school for. I went to school for mechanical engineering. Generally liked engineering quite a bit, but then when I got into the working world, I tried a small consulting firm first, and it was a little too slow-paced for me. And then when I graduated from school, I worked for Procter & Gamble. They essentially hire young engineers to be managers in their manufacturing facilities. So it was fine, but the corporate environment is probably almost everybody here can attest to isn't quite for our types of people. So while I liked the job well enough, the restrictions and the lack of ability to really make our own good decisions that were outside of the box wasn't really encouraged. So knew pretty early on that wasn't going to be for me, that I wanted to start my own business of some kind, but I didn't really know what it was. Luckily, I got pregnant, which is a great excuse to take long maternity leave and eventually leave your job. At that point, I thought, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I really, I did a soccer mom thing and do crafts all day and wipe poopy butts and all that good stuff. It was pretty early on, though, and having little kids, and I could tell I was bored. So I bought and sold baseball cards on eBay for a long time. So I'd go to Craigslist, and I think one of the biggest ones I bought was like 750,000 cards. Some brother was selling off his brother's collection, so I bought that up. I split it up into 1,000-count boxes and resold them on eBay. About quadrupled my money, which went from like $500 to $2,000. So it wasn't incredibly lucrative, but it kind of got that entrepreneurial spirit was coming through. My first access or even attempt to get into this field was just building a website for family stuff. So I wanted to post pictures of our kids and and write a little bit about the experiences. Facebook was pretty new back then, and a lot of our family wasn't on it, so a website was the best way to get all this stuff out to them, and I put that together. That was probably 2008, I think, at this point, and pretty quickly that parlayed into, my neighbor's band wanted, hey, can you build us a website, and just kind of, escalated from there. First website was in WordPress too, so that was a neat first experience with the platform. Somebody's got a question?
Yep. I was just letting you finish.
No, go for it.
So I gotta make sure we got something clear here.
Yeah.
You got into website building and card sales because you got bored of wiping poopy butts.
Yep.
How do you get bored of that? I mean, it sounds so exciting.
That's Mark.
It is, Jason.
It's mind-numbing.
I love it so much that we got more kids so I can do it.
Yeah.
We just handle the boredom in different ways. I said, no more kids, let me start a business, and Mark said, give me more kids.
And run a business.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. So that takes us a little bit up to kind of up to basically where we are now. But you started your business at some point. What year did you start Helio Interactive?
2008 is, I go back and forth, 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. I think I made all of about, $12,000 in 2008, so I don't know if I'd consider that a business yet at that point, but 2009 was kind of the first good year that it could be considered maybe a, job.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good start. So, awesome. All right, so...
well, there's one question we never get to ask because it's nobody's first turn ever coming on here. So we get to ask you, what was the first version of WordPress you worked on?
I think it was 2.8, if I'm not mistaken. 2.7, 2.8, somewhere right in there. I know everybody always knows the answer to that question right off the bat, and for some reason it wasn't like a thing for me. I think if you start at 1.3, that's cool, right? That sounds really good. Somebody says 2.8, that probably covers about 80% of us in the community.
Yeah.
I don't need a badge for that one.
I'm just happy to get asked that question because everybody else has done 5 other interviews, and we're trying to think of good questions not that somebody hasn't asked already. So there we go.
Good one.
Exactly. So you said some interesting things, and it sounds like quite the journey to get here. I'm curious too a little bit about how you said you wanted to be an engineer from the get-go, to an extent. So I was wondering maybe if you could talk just a little bit about what kind of influences have you had, and what do you think? You said you were good at math and stuff like that. So do you have family or friends who were doing similar things like this? Were your parents entrepreneurial? What other people and turn of events inspired you to kind of go in these directions that you took?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting parts about all of it is that the engineering background really feeds really well into becoming a developer, no doubt about it. In mechanical engineering, it was you solve problems with equations that related to equipment. And now I solve problems with code that relate to websites. So essentially it's that same approach, engineering to here. As far as overall influences, my family has quite a few entrepreneurs and folks that have built various businesses from my uncle's an excavator, my dad's an excavator. They both have their own companies. My other uncle owns a window company. So yeah, that influence has kind of always been around. And then within the community, there were several folks that I was friends with before I got into the industry that were into WordPress. Actually, Chuck Reynolds, I went to grade school with, and as I was just embarking on building my first website, I would see Facebook posts from him about WordPress, and so that was really why I first started to even research it to begin with. Was a kid I went to school in 7th grade with, and you never know how that's going to influence you later on.
So, Heather, you moved to a new office what was it, 2 years ago, or it seems like it's fairly recent.
Yeah.
And what would you say your biggest challenge was, because you're already in an active business, and so you had to keep that running while doing the move at the same time? That must have not been the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm kind of a lean liver and a lean office person. I don't like to have a lot of stuff with me. Pretty much the computer holds everything that's critical to my life, I feel like. So it really wasn't too big of a deal. And even now, I maintain 2 different offices. One up by my house, about an hour north of Chicago, so that I have a place to go on the weekends, just to go concentrate on stuff. And then I also have one downtown Chicago in the Loop, because that's where our two strategic partners are at. So we all share a space there as well. But I'm kind of a nomad. I stick everything in my backpack and pretty much go. So I put a monitor at each location. Don't need too much more than that.
Awesome. So Heather, can you tell us a little bit about the kind of projects that you do and the kind of clients that you've had? You can go back to when you first started providing client services. You said your neighbor's band or something like that. So it's interesting to listen to service providers like yourself who started with all these small jobs. Maybe it evolved. Maybe you begin to serve a very specific type of client over the years, or maybe not, just always something different. So what have your clients looked like over the years, especially in the beginning?
Yeah, I think, similar to most freelancers starting out, at the beginning it was a lot of, family and friends and personal interests and really, really small local businesses. That was probably the first couple years. About 3 years into freelancing, my husband actually quit his job. He worked for Procter & Gamble at that time as well, and kind of let me run free with running this business. At that point, I was only probably making about half of what we needed to support our household, so it was quite a leap, but we did it. And I think at that point, when I was able to not just work, during kids' naps and on the weekends, to working a normal-ish full-time schedule of about 70 to 80 hours a week, that's when I saw the clientele level kind of go up a step. But even so, it was very referral based. So now we're working with several corporations, universities, and then a lot of medium-sized businesses. Medium-sized is probably the heart of everything, although we continue to try to, I don't want to say move up in the ranks. It sounds kind of cocky, but at the same point, we're trying to build an agency. We're trying to, have a larger team, and obviously the larger clients support that. We also bring the more challenging projects. Even right now, we still have quite a few small businesses on our client list, and we do that because we like to help folks that need the help, but at the same time, we also want to continue to be challenged so that we are continually improving and providing better and better solutions for folks. So I will say it's funny to see how the clientele, we work with a steel company, we work with a tool company. It still has really we're very technically oriented and much more B2B than B2C. It's kind of funny how your interests, the clientele kind of follows with that.
Definitely.
Talk a little bit about your process. Like or potential client calls you, and from that first point of contact, what's your process to scoping it out? Getting them the quote, holding them to the quote, and staying within the scope project, because that's something that we all talk about is the scope creep and all that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, scope creep still happens all the time. I think some of that over time, as you encounter more and more of the similar issues and similar needs, you just get better at scoping those and knowing what things could be pitfalls and risks in it. But essentially, I try to do as good of a job as possible. If I think it's a good chance to getting the client, and there's no red flags from a personality standpoint or otherwise, the budget seems reasonable for what they're asking for, then I'll spend quite a bit of time with the client on the front end to do some discovery work and really put together a solid proposal that kind of dots all the I's and crosses all the T's, to the point where, and I don't know if this is good or bad or otherwise, but I kind of shoot to have a proposal to folks that they could take to somebody else and say, implement this for me. And I trust that by offering a lot of those kind of solutions right out of the box, that I'm hoping they're going to pick us to implement them. And that's worked out really, really well for us. I've noticed the ones that I haven't put that much time into or done a lot of research ahead of time, the clients are picking between us and 4 other firms. They're going to go with somebody else who kind of gave a little bit more in the proposal. So I kind of lean towards, I'll put 6 or 8 hours into a decent-sized proposal to make sure that it's well thought through and we know what we're getting into ahead of time.
So I've got a question for you. I was catching up on your WordPress.tv shows and or whatever, and you commented about how you think it's a bad idea to do exchange of services. And I'm actually really jealous of Kyle because he's probably got the coolest exchange of services I've ever heard of. But you want to tell us why you think that's a bad idea, or do you still even believe that?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, that's a tough one. I think everybody does it to a point, right? And I think there's that family, friends, discount or barter that everybody's willing to do. We're good people. We want to help each other. So I won't say that I never do it by any means, but from a true business standpoint, whether it's we do development and you do video production, and we're gonna build you a website and you're gonna exchange a video. You're going to make us a video. I feel like there's always a little bit of that, well, it took me this many hours, and my rate is usually this, and it took them this many. Like, there's always a little bit of bean counting, and that's just not my style. It's like, hey, if we're going to exchange, let's just exchange, keep it even. But generally speaking, it seems like those tend to not go so well and have a potential for maybe ruining a good relationship versus if you just each write each other a check, even if it's the same check each way. Yeah, we pay taxes on it, but they cancel each other out too. So I'm kind of more, you know, do it by the books, keep things fair, and tends to maybe save some relationships. Unless it's your mom, you know.
Right.
Mom, buy me dinner, I'll build your website.
It's definitely like a really interesting discussion sometimes, and I think that you know, for those who haven't been freelancing for too long, you may not realize that that clients semi-regularly do ask for something like this, or it's often precipitated by a client saying, "Hey, you know, could I just, you know, give you a discount on my stuff or something?"
Yeah.
As payment. Clients who just have no concept of the value or the cost of our services. So
Exactly.
it's in most cases, like you're absolutely right. It's not appropriate, and the customer has a very poor understanding of just the cost and the value.
Yeah. Sometimes I relate, you know, what we do to, you know, how doctors run things or how lawyers run things, and I think, you know, nobody would ever tell a doctor, you know, hey, can you, you know, take out my appendix, you know, and I'll cut your hair. I mean, nobody would ever make that type of a request to a doctor, right? So
Right.
I think some of it is like respecting our industry and knowing that there's some solid ways to do business, and I know that we kind of pride ourselves on not being super straight-laced or, you know, all by the book, but I think there's some things that just from a professional standpoint are good practice and we should maintain. But yeah, I don't bash anybody too bad if they're bartering either. It's just kind of a personal thing.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, and that's quite a observation too. You're absolutely right. That's a good thing for us to think about more often. You know, equating us, we need to equate ourselves with, you know, the kind of the caliber of the service provider that we want to be, that we want the client to treat us as, or to think of us that way. I think, you know, those professional services like doctors and lawyers, if we can train clients to think of us like that as well. The burden is on us to make them think of it that way.
No, it's a little bit. I talk out of both sides of my mouth, right? Because we're doing a podcast where we're, you know, drinking beer and definitely being a little loose, which is good. So I think there's just you know, a piece of that, like you said, we should keep in mind.
Yeah.
But not hold to it too close.
No.
Yeah, no, I definitely see where a lot of times people will come out and say, I'll give you a 10% discount. No, that's not going to work. But my accountant, for example, has been doing my accountant work for 3 years on the promise that one day I'll build her a website, and she still hasn't asked for it.
Right.
I got a great deal out of that.
Well, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Stay with that one. That's an all right situation.
Yeah, right.
I guess it's pretty unusual. Like, I've had so many clients approach me with these offers, but like there's never been any that were like in my favor or even close, even in the ballpark.
Right.
You know, they just estimate the value so poorly, so consistently that like I had somebody seriously ask if she could just get a website in exchange for a discount. Like, not even a free, but a discount on a foot detox, which is like a $60 value.
On a what?
I don't even know what it is. It's a foot detox? I don't know.
Foot detox?
Yeah.
I don't think I want to know.
Should I not have turned that down?
I don't think I want to know what that is.
Moving on. All right, this is about Heather. All right. Heather, so where do you get your business? Where do your clients come from? Are they all local in your area? Do you get a lot of business from referrals? Do you have some kind of clever lead generation means? Do you get out in the community and promote yourself? You know, what's your strategy for getting new customers?
Yeah, I think the two biggest factors are referrals from past clients, which is always nice. I think that has worked out really, really well. The other one is I mentioned the strategic partners that we have. So we have one partner that's a PR content strategy type firm, and then we have another that's a creative partner, and then we're the development side. So we typically, we consider ourselves maybe a full agency with the three of us together. So and we all bring each other business. So all the work that we're doing, there's probably a 20% overlap with our creative team, another 20% with the strategic team, and then the rest of it is referrals from past clients or contact form requests. I always like to point out, though, too, that there's not a lot that comes from our own website, and that's our own fault. There's that saying about the cobbler's kids have the holiest shoes, and that is entirely true. Our website right now is not where it needs to be by any means, and it's not impressive or indicative of the level of service that we offer, but we'll get to that. Ultimately, we've been busy, and that's really good, and we're profitable, and that's even better. And then, folks can't underestimate the value of being in the community. I think it's an indirect business building type thing. When clients go research us, we want people to see that, we're involved, we're giving back. I like when clients ask about, hey, how did it go speaking here, speaking there? I think, generally speaking, if we're not out and about and sharing information with other folks and helping other companies grow, then we're doing the whole industry a disservice. We're all going to grow more together than we would each on our own. So I think that clients like to see that. So a potential client maybe has a higher level of respect for somebody who's doing something like that versus somebody who's not. Uh-oh. Somebody's website's down.
No. The goal is to see how many of us we can distract in the chat. Oh,
Yeah.
I might have told you this before, so you probably shouldn't be paying much attention to what's going on right there.
It's working on me. I'm very distracted. Wow.
All right.
Yes. Okay, 2 quick ones, real quick, since we're here. I saw you using Coda as your script editor, and you talked about InQ style and InQ script, and I actually looked those up. I'm not the developer guy. I'm like a content strategy guy and SEO type stuff, so I have no idea what any of that stuff even stands for. So if you wanted to hit on those real quick, they were just quick things that I was confused about.
Coda. So Coda is a crutch for me right now. I just have so many. So Coda is a combined code editor and FTP client. It's got Transmit. It's the FTP client built right into it. So it's a crutch from my cowboy coding days that I've held on to so far. And there's pluses and minuses to it. It still makes things really, really nice and easy. I like it. I'm comfortable with it from a code editing standpoint, but there's not a lot of productivity gains from using it. I'd love to move to Sublime Text 3. It's really a matter of, you've got all your sites set up in one client, and now I've got to move over and kind of, preset all those into another FTP client. So at some point I'll move, but if you're a newer developer and you have some sites that you're still cowboy coding on, I won't bash you too hard for that, but Coda makes that nice and easy. OnQ scripts and OnQ styles. So this is one. I'm good friends with Rachel Baker, and she's one of the lead developers on the WordPress REST API project right now, and she's been a mentor of mine for the last several years. And she'll once in a while take a look at some of my code and beat me over the head with something. And pretty early on, OnQ scripts and OnQ styles was one of those. Essentially, we'll probably focus more on OnQ scripts because it's a little more critical. But typically, if you've got a script and you go somewhere and they say, oh, just paste this script into the head of your website. With WordPress, that is the wrong way to do it. You're asking for code conflicts and a number of other issues. So WordPress has OnQ scripts as a function built in that we can take advantage of to make sure that we're loading all of our scripts in conflict-free mode. And essentially, it's just a good practice, and it's not that hard to do. Once you make it happen with one script, you essentially rinse and repeat and do that over and over again. So, yeah, definitely for newer developers, if you're still pasting scripts right into your header PHP or footer.php or anywhere else, don't do it and Google WP OnQ scripts.
Awesome.
Lots of good info in the codex on it.
Yes.
I love getting technical once in a while and talking about some of those things.
Absolutely.
Huh.
I was going to mention, too, there's a great little article, a little write-up on pippinspluggins.com. It's loading scripts correctly in the WordPress admin. He goes through, the wrong way to do it and why that's bad, and then the right way to do it and problems it solved. Kind of everything you just recapped, Heather.
Awesome.
So,
And
check it
Joel,
out.
I gotta mention too, because Joel Worsham, who works for me, he's an amazing, very talented developer. He did a talk at WordCamp Grand Rapids that's just about entering scripts. Like that's the whole talk was just about it, and because there's a lot to say about how doing it right and the subtleties and some of the optional parameters and what they're for that people maybe don't realize. So check it out. I think it's on WordPress TV.
Perfect.
Cool. Heather, next we were wanting to know, kind of a two-part question. First is, can you describe like Helio Interactive's ideal client, and then also think back to maybe your worst client or your worst kind of experience, how that went and lessons learned from that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ideal client right now is, somebody with a good technical challenge. That's what we're best at. We'd like to build something that nobody's built before, or that maybe solves a very unique client need. So one of the items that we're working on right now is a customer portal for a client that basically they have some pretty specific needs from their customer end of things that the customer needs to log in and identify, and it's going to be a pretty hefty portal overall. Very challenging. Super excited to build it though. It's probably going to be one of the coolest projects we've ever worked on. So that's a lot of fun. But that's taken time, obviously, to build up to even being able to sit in a room and scope something like that. So,
yeah.
Worst clients, I'll say this from a worst client standpoint. I think the hardest ones are the ones with the lack of respect for what we do overall. It's when they're really, really pushing on the dollar amount when your dollar amount might already be low, and then keep asking for more. And when you say, oh, that's out of scope, and they argue back. And I think those are the clients that kind of get under my skin the most. Is just the ones that aren't respecting what we do and how much time it takes and how we are continually improving ourselves through going to meetups and WordCamps and just those are the ones that kind of get under my skin. So without mentioning any specific project names, I'll keep it there.
No, we want names. Name them. No, just
not today. Offline.
Offline. All right. Really quick. So based on those kind of the highs and lows that you've just gotten through describing, what changes would you say you've made in your business to protect against that, or to get more of the ideal clients?
Yeah, definitely much more willing to say no. I mean, even if it's a first phone call with somebody that I can just tell either from a personality standpoint it doesn't go well, or if the first few emails that come through are really, really short, if I ask 5 questions and they respond with yes, ultimately that's not somebody who's really thinking through what they want in their project and willing to put the time in on their end of the project as well. So I just try to recognize those red flags early and say no as soon as possible so that we don't even go down that path. It's not a perfect method, but the screening works a lot better now than it did a couple years ago.
Yeah, well, that's great. What would you say Helio Interactive, the specialty is? What would you say sets you apart from other agencies the clients could choose that are out there?
Yeah, definitely well-built custom themes. So we start with underscores. That is our framework of choice. We do make some modifications to it before we really get going with the client project, but custom theming is kind of our specialty. I'll say almost to the point where unless there's something really challenging somebody wants done from a CSS standpoint or otherwise, it's almost a little mechanical for us now. We've just gotten really, really good at building nice, slim, fast-running themes. So we're getting a little bit more now into this custom plugin development where, and I personally don't do back-end development at all. So we're pulling on some other resources and folks that we know to help with some of this. But we're really, really good at scoping those type of projects and essentially working with a developer to implement what we've scoped. So again, it's that formulating the solution for the tough technical problem. And then finding the right folks to actually put the fingers to the keyboard.
Cool. So since you said you're looking into doing some custom plugin development for folks, do you have any interest in productizing your business? Based on a lot of the folks we've interviewed, that seems to be a trend that there's a lot agency work that they're doing, and then to diversify revenue streams, right? They say, well, what if a few of these themes we've built, we make them standardized and sell themes also on this side, or if they've done the same with plugins, right? Made products that are available to folks as well. Would you consider doing that, or are you going to stay with services?
No, I think it's a really good point that you mentioned the diversification of revenue streams. I think that every service-based company needs to have some other recurring income, whether it's you want to host your client sites and they're paying you ongoing for the hosting and the maintenance, or maybe it's a product that you offer. We've tossed around the idea of doing a theme shop. I'd like to do something as it relates to underscores, though. I think that because we're so dead set on using that as our starter theme, and we found some cool things to do with it, we'd like to go that route versus kind of that bloated framework. Again, won't mention any names because it's not appropriate. I think that there's a time and place for some of these bigger frameworks, but our specialty is really these lean, fast themes. So we've thought through ways of, could we just do a few templates of that are based on underscores, and whether that's for, we offer that up as a low-cost solution for new clients, or we sell those online, not really sure yet, but ultimately our top priority right now is serving the clients that we have and getting our business structure straight, and then we'll play the product thing by ear, I think, over the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's cool. We've interviewed a few folks who have even said that it's been detrimental in maybe some ways, especially if they're kind of shoehorning everything into their one website. What I mean by that is we've spoken to a few guests who have a strong services background, like yourself, right? And then they start doing products on the side, and they're, either current clients or prospective clients on their website will click on themes and see, well, wait, here's an already complete one. I see that they're selling for $50. Right. Why am I paying so much for my site? This looks complete, right? When I view the demo or whatever, this looks complete, right? And they're not quite understanding the difference and that kind of thing. So some of those folks are even considering, separating them out to, under different, names or different URLs or whatever else, just so there's not the confusion there. But
exactly, I actually really respect the way Modern Tribe does it. I think they're a great example of a great service-based company that also has an amazing product, and I love their freemium model. So it's not just a revenue generator for them, but it's also community contribution for them. And their service business is still far outweighs what their product business is, but I think it's neat to have that dual presence.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
So you've kind of hit on this a couple of times, and I know you've talked about it in the past, and I asked you if it was okay. You said it's okay. So you've been talking about getting into and merging with these other companies or with these other individuals to make an entity. I'm not sure exactly what the details are, but can you fill us in on the details there and some of the perceived advantages or what you're hoping to gather out of it, maybe some of the challenges you've overcome?
Yeah, lots of challenges. So I talked a couple of times, even just tonight, about the strategic partnership that I have, and now we even share an office. So it's 3 separate companies that are, we're working together and have a bunch of projects that overlap. But, probably some of the more interesting stuff to hear is that I've been in this situation several times. So I've known for a while that I didn't want to be the sole leader of a company like this. I know that I don't have all of the skills needed to run a really, really solid agency, and I really respect a lot of these companies like Web Dev Studios and Modern Tribe that do this, as a group. So I'm a big believer in finding people that you know, love, trust, and work well together with, and do it together versus on your own. So I've had a few, I call it business dating. Over the past 3 years or so, I've had 2 other relationships where we've business dated, and quite honestly, it didn't work out. And when the last one kind of fell through, and that was on my part, I had decided that my heart just wasn't in it. There were some my current strategic partners I was also working with at the time, and I kind of had an epiphany that it's like, hey, if I'm going to get married, business married to somebody, it's going to be these folks, not these ones. And so I kind of exited stage left and fully committed to the relationships that I'm in now. So I think everybody's kind of got to do their own thing. 10 Up is Jake Goldman, and that's his gig, and he's comfortable with it, and it works for them. And I have a ton of respect for Jake too. It's just I knew for myself personally, and from a cultural, company culture standpoint, that I wanted to, kind of a leadership group versus just a monarchy, so to say.
So what you're saying is you're not really big on business monogamy.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, I guess not. I've dated around a little bit in the business community. I don't cheat on anyone though. I'm pretty straight when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's what I tell the girls too.
Oh man.
That's great. That's great.
Oh, that's pretty funny, and I love thinking of that business partner relationship kind of like a marriage. It really is how you become you're so intimately connected when your business is.
Absolutely. Oh, and in people's lives, I mean, it's a little bit it's funny at times. Even going on these trips, I think it's a good thing for the business culture, but got to be careful with it too. There can be some sticky points in getting too close with folks, but in general, I think it's a good thing.
Love it. So we've got just a little bit of time now, and we want to talk about just a couple other topics. Tell us a little bit about your local WordPress community, and you are involved with a meetup, or multiple meetups to a degree, and organizing one of the coolest WordCamps in the world. So you're intimately involved in some really cool stuff in your local area, in the Chicago area. Tell us a little bit about just about the community there and what your role is and what kind of things you get to do.
Awesome, yeah. So it's kind of cool, Chicago obviously being such a big area, just in pure geography. We've got several meetups in the area. So there's one on the north side, there's one in the west suburb, one up by me in the north suburbs. We've got a bunch of them, so we're a little bit scattered in that way. But I think what's really neat is those WordCamps then kind of bring everybody from all those meetups together once a year, and it's a lot of fun. Ton of good developers, a lot of freelancers, some folks that work for some of the bigger agencies, and it's a pretty tight knit group in Chicago, I'd say overall. They become some of my best friends in the in the community for sure. I will say also we've for some reason gotten really tight with the Minneapolis group. There's just whether it's a Midwest connection, we're tight with them, and we're also tight with the folks in Milwaukee. So I kind of like how there's this almost like a Midwest contingency. I think the folks out east have something similar too. But generally speaking, it even goes past helping each other with business-related issues or WordPress-related issues. These are the folks that we're going to dinner with on the weekends and talking about taking vacations with and things like that. So it's a neat community over here.
It sounds really cool. So talk a little bit about like your role and responsibilities in the area. What kind of things are you looking to take care of and helping out with?
Yeah, definitely. So I think at this point I try to take on maybe a little bit more of a mentorship role. So I founded the meetup that's up in the suburbs by me, but I've passed on organization to another local community member. Ran it for about 2 years, and then basically just because of business obligations at the time, had to kind of let the organization go. But still am very close and in touch with the person who runs that meetup, and then. Again, with Becky Davis's meetup on the north side, she and I are chatting all the time. We're probably on Skype, every other day with each other and stay really tight. So I think it's making sure that we're supporting other organizers, but then also being available at the meetups to answer other folks' questions and making sure that we're keep on giving back and sharing more information and being available to everybody.
So we've really got to know about WordCamp Chicago 2015. What can you tell us?
All right. Hopefully Ryan doesn't kill me. So it looks like it's going to be the last weekend of September. I think we just have some papers to sign, and we'll get it all set and squared away. So pretty soon there'll be an official announcement. We'll call that the very unofficial announcement. But last week of September. We just had to get it out of the summer. There's too much going on. So. We're going to give a fall date a shot and see how that goes.
You heard it here first, folks.
I know that you made it really easy for us to pick our weekend because you didn't do it in the summer
Yes.
in Milwaukee, because we always have to look at when Chicago's doing theirs in order for Milwaukee to do theirs. So, because like you said, we're so interconnected that we kind of have to pay attention to all that.
Yeah, Chicago is not a WordCamp you want to collide with.
Well, ours is better traditionally. I don't know, now that Heather's running it, it might be a little different, but traditionally ours is a better WordCamp. So.
I actually enjoy them both for very different reasons.
Right. Yeah.
Milwaukee, for this size, I tend to find that the smaller WordCamps actually are more, for some reason, better content, I think, generally speaking. And I like that as you're walking around the hallways, you see the same people over and over again, so it just feels more comfortable. Chicago gets big and probably intimidating for some of the newer folks to the community, so there's pluses and minuses to each. But Milwaukee, you guys did not check the Dave Matthews Band tour schedule, and you scheduled it right on top of the Alpine Valley stop.
Well, yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, Milwaukee is festival city, so you're always going to conflict with something, right?
Right.
So, yeah, but Milwaukee's, we make it fun, so
Exactly.
hopefully you won't, and besides, I understand you're going to see Dave Matthews anyway, so.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I cannot miss the Milwaukee after party, so I'm actually going to the Milwaukee after party, and then Sunday night I'll go see Dave Matthews Band. Make it all work.
There you go.
Dave Matthews?
What's that?
Did you say Dave Matthews Band?
Absolutely.
Are they still around?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Hardest working man in show business.
Yep.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Mark and I just had this conversation, so he's
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
So I want to know, the torch for organizing WordCamp Chicago gets passed around a little bit, and it's in your hands this year, or you're holding half of the torch in some fashion. Tell us a little bit about what you have planned. Anything special? Anything to kind of like make this a really great year? Anything really interesting, different than past years? What's going to make this one special?
Actually, I think for this one, and I organized in 2011 and 2012 here in Chicago as well, and then passed it to Aaron Holbrook in 2013, and then he passed to Michelle Schulp in 2014, and now it's back to us because Michelle moved to Minneapolis. So after doing this for a while, I think one of the things that Ryan and I have talked about that we want to make sure of this year is actually that we kind of slim things down a little bit. I think a lot of these camps have gotten to be a lot of tracks, a lot of people. We've even talked about putting a ticket cap of like 300 on this year. I don't know if we'll go through with that or not, but just something to keep it, a little more intimate, and also just to make sure that folks are getting the most from each other. Again, that when we start getting close to that 500 mark, it's almost a madhouse in there, and I feel like it kind of shoves some people. It's a little cliquey, maybe. I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't feel as intimate. So we're going to try to retain some intimacy, while still providing some really great content and networking opportunities for folks.
Interesting. Cool. Well, it's always a good time. It's something we look forward to every single year. It's one of the camps that's on our we're not going to miss it list.
Awesome. So. Can't wait to see you guys there.
Yeah, as long as there are tickets available.
Yep. We'll make it work. Don't worry.
You'll see
just sponsor it, and then you get tickets.
Yeah. All right. So we're really winding down here. This time kind of flew by really, really quickly, and there's always some things we want to talk about that we won't get to. But just a few other questions for you. Tell us a little bit about what the future looks like for you talked a little bit about some of your business arrangements, but talk a little bit personally and professionally about what some of your goals are, what you're trying to do, the direction you want to move, where do you want to see your business go, where do you want to see your role in the business go, and where do you want to see yourself personally, kind of like moving towards in the future. Just talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from a business standpoint, a lot of my passion is really behind building a really solid business, and at this point, I've kind of slacked on building further development skills. I just know there's so many good folks out there that do that so much better than me. I'd rather, grab those people and collaborate with them than kind of keep pursuing something that's not exactly my true passion. So I think just continuing to, be a stronger business leader and working close with our strategic partners is obviously key. I'd love it if next year, the three companies really come together and we find a way to, have one full agency. I will admit I still hope that the focus is very strong on the technical side. Again, that's kind of what I love, is formulating those solutions for folks on the technical end. So if the merge does happen, I hope that technical is kind of maintained as a really, really strong part of that. Personally, I hope I can keep being a good mom to my kids while I'm doing this. It's one of the biggest challenges of running a business like this and growing a business like this is I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I've definitely sacrificed a lot of time with them. I try to be there as much as possible and hit big events, and when I'm home, do my best to focus on being with them and not always have my laptop on my lap. So I hope that in 5 years or even 10 years that they can look back and say, wow, Mom did all this stuff, but she loved us too and did a good job. So probably covers both sides of it.
Yeah, awesome. That's a good answer. That's a really, really good answer. Okay, off the wall here. Tell us, what's your all-time favorite WordPress function?
My all-time favorite WordPress function. That's a tough one. I was ready to answer the CSS one. Can I answer the CSS one instead?
Okay. What's your all-time favorite CSS property?
Box sizing border box, by far. Was like when underscores included that. I think it was like a year and 3 months ago or so that they incorporated it. Box sizing border box. I had chicken scratch of calculations, always on a pad of paper next to me, and now I don't need it for that anymore. So box sizing border box is definitely my favorite. Good front end dev question.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is. I should have gone with that. That's the front end question.
Love it.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I don't know if the other guys have any other questions at this point.
Other than WordCamp Chicago, where all are we going to see you this year?
So far this year, went to Pressnomics in February. That was very cool. Also went to St. Louis, WordCamp St. Louis. Obviously, just Minneapolis. I'll be at Milwaukee, Chicago, maybe Miami. I'm back and forth. The timing of it's good. Prestige in Minneapolis, I hope to make it back for, and then wherever this WordCamp, worldwide event decides to relocate to. I've gone to San Francisco the last 4 years, so wherever they land this year, I'll be there as well.
Yeah, maybe it'll be in Jackson, and I can go. Anyway,
you should petition for that, Kyle.
Yeah, I'll lobby real hard for it.
There you go.
Yeah, I was thinking Detroit would be a great location too, because you could probably just.
You could probably get a venue for next to nothing there.
You could just buy the venue, or you could.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then for cheaper than renting in a big city. Anyway,
Yeah.
So we really appreciate you joining us, Heather. One last question: what recommendations do you have here on this type of a show for future guests?
I guess just being being willing to be open and speak honestly about stuff is probably the biggest thing. I think anytime we're trying to put on a show or otherwise, it never goes very well. So just come on, be yourself. Have at least 2 beers ahead of time, and you'll be just fine.
How about some names of people that you might think we should ask?
You have not interviewed Rachel yet, have you? Rachel Baker? You
right.
just met her the other day.
Right. No, she's definitely on my list.
Yeah, I would grab Rachel. Rachel's got really neat perspective on running the gamut of different types of jobs in the WordPress community. She's done everything from freelancing, had a super strong freelancership, worked for the Nerdery for a while, then 10up, and now she just started a new role at a new company. So yeah, she'd be an awesome person to talk to from a career standpoint, and obviously anybody wants to talk about the REST API, she's the resource on that as well. So
exactly, yeah, she's very, very cool, and we'll get her on the show at some point if she's willing. She's been on other shows of this type before.
I'll put in a plug for you.
Thank you. That's always appreciated. Okay, so that about wraps it up. All the time that we've got here for today. We are very grateful that you took time to come talk with us, Heather. I wish you all the best for your business. I can't wait to bump into you in person at an upcoming WordCamp. And Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Heather.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Heather. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.
And now we got to wait like a couple of minutes because somebody said we're cutting off too early.
I
I don't know how long we got to wait.
don't know. It's probably a fluke thing. Just
Wait, we need to check on this. So is it the video or is it the audio?
I don't know. Like ask Topher.
Oh, you want me to actually stop now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just for you, though. It's a special occasion.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.